Hey everyone, I'm Michelle Mays. I'm the founder of the Center for Relational Recovery and Partner Hope, and I am back to talk with you today about things related to betrayal and being the partner of somebody who has cheated in some way, whether that's an affair or through a sex addiction or something like that. So here's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about the biggest thing that I think keeps betrayed partners stuck and not moving forward in their healing. I think it is this enormous missing ingredient in a lot of therapy, a lot of different programs. It's just, we're missing this, and it's affecting betrayed partners quite a lot. So I want to talk about it today. So here's what how I want to start talking about this. I want you to think about when you first discovered that there was betrayal in your relationship. For some of you, that may be really recent, and for others, that may be a couple years ago. Everybody's kind of at a different place, right? So I know that what I did after, I didn't do this right away, but I did this eventually, and it was still in the early stages. I went and looked for everything I could read, and there was not a lot. At the point that I was doing it, there was not a lot to read. Now you can read all day, right? You can read and read and read and read and read, because there's lots of blogs and different resources out there for you. So when I was going through it, there wasn't much, but I still went and read everything I could get my hands on. I sort of crammed information into my brain as quickly as I could. And when I have partners call and come in for therapy and sit down or come into our coaching program, they often tell me how much they've read and that they've sort of read everything and they know everything and they understand everything. And then they often say, but I'm still really stuck. Things aren't still getting better. I still have all this stuff that I need help with, even though I've read all this information. And what I think actually happens sometimes is that information becomes a block to actually moving forward in the healing, because there's this misunderstanding that information is what will change you. And this is, I think, one of the biggest blocks, right? It's this idea that if we just give you information, this will change your life. And it's not that information doesn't help, right? Daniel Siegel has talked about we name it to tame it. So when we're given information that makes sense of our experience and helps us understand what we're going through, it does calm us down some. It feels good. We need that information. It's really important for us, but it doesn't really move us forward and transform our lives and our relationships. It doesn't move us in a different direction. So when we think that that's what information is going to do, we can become very stuck. And I see this happen not just with clients, but also with therapists. I'll have therapists say to me, I've taught the client how to do boundaries. I've taught the client how to use their voice effectively. I've taught the client about managing triggers. I've taught the client all these different things, and the client isn't doing any of them. They're not setting boundaries. They're not using their voice effectively. They're not managing their trauma symptoms. They're not doing it, or they're doing just a little of it. They're not doing it very well. And the therapist will be puzzled. The therapist will be like, I don't know. I've taught them. I don't know what's going on, and the client will feel like, yeah, we've talked about this, but I'm still here where I'm at. So the thing that I think is happening when we think information is going to change things and then it doesn't, and there's all this stuckness, is that what's really stopping the change, what's really stopping transformation, both in your individual life and in your relationship, is fear. It's the fear of setting a boundary, because we fear that if we set the boundary we need to set, maybe our partner won't like it. Maybe they're going to get angry with us. Maybe they'll withdraw relationally. Maybe they'll leave the relationship altogether. Maybe we have fear that if we ask for something that feels really important to us, like we really need to be heard on it, we really need our partner to meet us, that if we ask for it, they're going to say no, or they're not going to meet us, and we feel like we can't take that. That will just crush us emotionally, and we can't handle that. And so there's all this fear that is blocking betrayed partners often from using the information to actually change their lives. because information alone doesn't do anything for us. We have to take what we are learning and apply it in our lives. We have to actually start to make changes to how we live, how we think, and what we believe. And we have to do that around ourselves, how we live with ourselves, what we think about ourselves, what we believe about ourselves, and others, our partner and others. So if we aren't able to take the information and make those changes because fear is in our way, and this fear is always relational. So it's always fear that we are going to lose relationships somehow. We're going to experience more distance and disconnection from our partner, from our friends, from our children, from people really important to us. And that fear that we might lose something relationally will make us compromise our sense of self in the relationship, and it will make us compromise what we need and what is good for us. And so instead of doing the things that we know we need to do to actually live a whole and healthy life, where we are able to live in our authentic self in the relationship and be who we really are and ask for what we need and bring all that. Instead, we will abandon ourselves. We will walk away from that and stay stuck rather than face potential loss relationally. This is the biggest thing blocking betrayed partners from healing and transforming their lives. And it's also the missing thing in so much therapy and in so many programs is nobody's paying attention to this fear. And nobody is working with partners to help them identify what is at the core of this fear. So what is this fear really about? It's always relational. It's always about some kind of loss. But that fear is also then about the losses you have already experienced, maybe in your family of origin, maybe in your childhood, maybe in a previous relationship, and how that felt and how you feel about tolerating more loss. So it's always ringing the bell back into your past and your past experiences. And when it rings that bell into your past, it's always connecting to beliefs that you have about yourself, often about your worthiness, about whether you matter, about whether you are important, about whether you are lovable. And so this fear is enormous, right? It's meaningful fear. It's not meaningless fear, right? We have this fear for good reason, because we are afraid that if we set the boundary, if we ask for what we need, if we make the changes to our lives, that maybe the people around us, excuse me guys, my voice, maybe the people around us won't like it. And then we're going to experience distance or loss with them, or even just having them look at us differently. That's a loss. Even something like that is a loss. So we're not going to do it. We're going to avoid that. But in order to avoid it, we have to stay stuck. So the cost and the consequence for avoiding the fear and avoiding taking risks is that we stay stuck and we compromise our own well-being, both individually and in our relationship. So having support and having somebody help you look at this fear, what is the meaning of it? What is it tied back to? What are the beliefs that it gets activating inside of you? And then helping you work through that. And really, you've got to nudge this fear out of your way. And you've got to take risks and action. There is no healing that does not involve risk. Hear me say that. There is no healing that does not involve taking a risk. And that means being vulnerable, right? Whenever we take a risk, we're being vulnerable. So you need people around you and support around you that understands this, understands the fear, understands the need for risk, understands the need for vulnerability, and is helping you take action and move into nudging the fear out of the way so that you can really heal and you can really be healthy. And it is this that changes relationships too, because your partner is often not going to change unless they know you are serious about it. And what I see betrayed partners do is they'll say to me, oh, he knows I'm serious. I told him. And they kind of tell me the things that they've threatened to do So they've made a lot of threats. They've used a lot of big language. They've been angry. They've done all of that kind of thing. But it's all been from a position of fear and powerlessness. And we're energetic people. And so the cheating partner knows when what you are doing and saying is really just a venting and a threat. And they know the difference when your energy changes because you've worked through this fear. And now what you're saying to them is coming from a place of groundedness and certainty inside yourself about what you need and what needs to happen here in the relationship, and that you're not going to compromise on that or tolerate things that continue to hurt you and put you in pain and distress. They know the difference. There is an enormous energetic difference. And what you're going to find is when you get into that grounded place and into that certainty inside of yourself, you're not going to need to go big with the anger and the rage and the threats, because instead you're going to have this power inside of you that comes from that grounded place of certainty. So when we do that, that's when we start to see real change in our lives and in our relationships, when we really face the fear and move through it and come into a place where we are willing to risk in order to have what we really want in our lives and in our relationships, and to operate from a place of wholeness and connection to ourselves that allows us to then connect to others in much deeper and more authentic and fulfilling ways. So I hope you'll think about this in your own life. And are you working on the fear? Are you understanding what the fear is about? Are you taking risks? Are you looking at, am I operating from powerlessness where I'm making threats, etc., versus a place of grounded certainty inside of myself where I know I can do what I am asking. I know I can follow through on the boundaries I'm setting. I know I have the ego strength, that's what we call this, and the resilience to do that. So if you have not looked at Braving Hope, I want to encourage you to look at Braving Hope and schedule a call with us, because this is what we are doing in that program. So in that program, you're going to get a whole new model for understanding betrayal trauma. So I have a model that I am developing. It is based on attachment theory. It is a brand new way to think about this whole issue. And it's going to give you like a paradigm shift that you will never, ever lose again. Like once you've got this paradigm shift, it's with you forever. And it is going to change how you work on this and heal from this, both individually and relationally. So you're going to get that. But the biggest thing we're doing in that program, inside that model, is helping you work on the fear and helping you learn how to take risks and get your sense of self back so that you can do these hard things, be vulnerable, and move toward healing in your own life and move toward a rich and authentic life, because it is possible to absolutely flourish in your life again after betrayal. So that's what we're doing, and I hope that you will schedule a call with us if you've been thinking about it, and join us, and let me work with you on the coaching calls, and we will work on this and really shift and change this fear. All right, I'll see you all next time.